A very good evening and welcome to The Bottom Line, a wrap of some of your top business news stories of the day. My name is Nzinga Kunta and we begin as usual with your number of the day. Today, that number is 66%. That, according to the Africa report, is the percent of people on the African continent who are unbanked. Now, most people who do not have bank accounts on the continent are set to make use of mobile money to transfer, pay and save for goods. The Africa report then goes on to say that out of 866 million mobile money accounts in the world, about 395 million are on the continent. So let's talk about a fintech in an African context. I'm joined by Lebo Mokgabudi. She is a fintech specialist who builds digital financial solutions across the continent. She's currently working with investors, startup and corporates to try and build an inclusive digital economy. Thanks so much for your time, Lebo, this evening. Talk to us about the opportunities for fintech, particularly in an African context.
Hi, good evening. So thank you for having me this evening. Fintech in the African context. So in Africa, we don't have infrastructure, right? As we all know, and we really don't have a banking infrastructure. But what we do have in Africa is mobile phones. So we have everybody has mobile phones. We have high mobile subscribers, and therefore we've leveraged technology and leveraged the mobile phone to enable people to access digital financial services. And what fintech, which is financial technology, has enabled people to use technology and specifically mobile technology to access digital financial services. And what mobile money is really is enable people to access banking, access remittances, access cash transfers on their mobile phone, and use agents as branches. So we actually enable in Kenya, we have it in Nigeria, where we have enabled agents to become cash in and cash out points, effectively leveraging that mobile technology to become like a bank.
So that technology then, if my understanding is correct, can also be used for financial inclusion. And how does technology then leap over the challenges that there are, particularly in the African context of distance, perhaps from banks, and inequality as two examples?
Okay, so mobile money solves a couple of things. The one is remittances, right? The other is access. So what you speak about in terms of inequality and challenges of distance is that mobile money helps people to access financial services through their mobile phone. Right, so with a mobile phone, they can access you, Nzinga, sending money to your mother in a rural area, and through her phone, she can access those funds. She then, through mobile money, accesses those funds and is able to buy value-added services, buy airtime, pay for electricity through her phone, as well as do other financial services. It has even evolved that through digital financial services, people can access insurance through their mobile phone, access credit through their mobile phone. And in South Africa specifically, the use cases are not just money transfer, right? The use cases are actually about accessing credit. A project that I'm currently working on now is where we're helping spaza shops in township areas access credit through their mobile phone, accept digital payments through their mobile phone, as well as enabling them to become financially resilient. Largely, as we know, spaza shops generally receive cash and they don't have a digital record or a financial identity, really. People in township areas or spaza shops in township areas struggle to access credit because they don't have a digital record, they don't have a digital identity or financial identity specifically. And what mobile money helps, or fintech helps, especially fintech startups, they enable a spaza shop owner to develop a digital identity, to develop a financial identity where they can have a record of the purchases that they've made, have a record of the sales that they have made digitally, and that can enable them to access credit. We're also enabling digital lenders to actually lend money to spaza shop owners. And fintech enables that, right? So what I currently work in is specifically inclusive fintech, and that's fintech for inclusion. And fintech inclusion is then enabling people to access these resources who are previously underserved, right? But fintech as a gambit or as an industry is financial technology, which can be all sorts of things. It can be remittances, can be blockchain, even companies such as Visa and MasterCard are actually financial technology. But Fintech for Inclusion is specifically financial technology for underserved communities.
Lebo, so if we're talking about financial inclusion, there's been a report by Rand Merchant Bank, and I'm going to quote them here, that says that the typical SA Fintech founder is most likely male, aged over 30, has studied at UCT, Stellenbosch or Wits, has worked previously in the financial services sector, and is white. So how do you then, when you're trying to be inclusive and transformative, address challenges that you've just spoken about when perhaps that's not your lived experience?
So there's a couple of things that we're trying to do, specifically with the Catalyst Fund, is that we're trying to ensure that funding goes to local founders. Right, you're very correct that currently a lot of the funding when it comes to fintech goes to white founders, and historically in this country it has been going to white founders across tech, across early stage tech, and fintech being one of them. And what we're currently doing is specifically trying to access local founders, that local Black African founders get funding for their fintech solutions. That's one. Another thing in terms of how we're transforming it is specifically have those fintech solutions service underserved communities. So historically in South Africa, the fintech solutions have been about payments such as SnapScan, such as e-wallet solutions, have really serviced the urban community. And the fintech solutions you find in South Africa, if it's not payments, it could be insurtech, and it's really mostly for the urban community. But what we're trying to specifically work on now is using those fintech solutions for the underserved communities, right? Let it service African communities, but also let us build and invest in African founders who build inclusive fintech solutions.
There's so much on this topic that I still wanted to cover. Lebo Mokgabudi, thanks so much for your time. Perhaps we'll get you a little bit later on for longer.